Welcome to part 4 of my actual play video. My name is Roosevelt Cooper from Golden Acacia Gaming. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate to you how you can use the Mythic Game Emulator 2nd edition to play your favorite tabletop role-playing game either solo or with a group without needing a game master. In this particular video, I'm going to be playing the brand new 2024 Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And the character that I'm going to be playing is Kashta Napata. He is a male human paladin at level 1. Where we last left off, Kashta and his group of adventurers found some tracks that they believe could have been left by the bandits. They followed the tracks to a campsite which was populated by bandits. They saw the bandits, but the bandits did not see them. They were able to successfully sneak into the campsite and get the drop on the bandits. So with that, we're going to continue on with the adventure. The first thing we're going to do is come up with an expected scene. And in this expected scene, I expect that the adventurers, now that they got the drop on the bandits, that we're going to have combat. And they are going to fight the bandits and try to take them down and bring them to justice. So with that, we're going to test the expected scene. The chaos factor right now is at a 2. Because the adventurers have been in control. So if we roll higher than a 2, then the expected scene will happen just like we expected. If we roll less than a 2 or a 2 itself, we could have an altered scene or interrupt scene. So I'm going to go ahead and roll now. And we got a 2. So the expected scene is not going to happen the way we expected. A 2 is even. So even means we're going to have an interrupt scene. So an interrupt scene is completely different from an altered scene. With an altered scene, as we saw in our last video, the expected scene happens, but it happens with a twist. With an interrupt scene, a completely new scene happens. So something else is going to happen before the adventurers have a chance to get the drop on the bandits. So let's find out what that's going to be. So whenever we have an interrupt scene, what we're going to do is we're going to roll and generate what's called a random event. All right, so when we're generating a random event, there are 2 things we have to look at. The first thing we have to look at and identify is the event focus. And the second thing we have to look at and identify is the event meaning. Both of these components are interpreted through the lens of the context. So the context of the adventure right now is we have 4 adventurers who are looking to try to track down some bandits who have been terrorizing the townspeople and those who have been traveling to the town, robbing them and giving them a hard time. So we're going to interpret the event focus and the event meaning with that context in mind. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll on what is called the event focus table. The event focus table has a series of different event focuses or foci or whatever the proper plural term is for focus. And so we're going to roll on that table and see what the event focus is going to be. So for this roll, we're going to roll a D100 and see what happens. All right, so I rolled a 61. A 61 on the event focus is move away from the thread. So this is going to be very interesting because we were looking to track down these bandits, but the event focus is now moving us away from that. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen now. So with move away from the thread, what happens is there's some type of obstacle, there's some type of hurdle or setback that the adventurers are going to experience that's going to move them away from the thread that they were looking to pursue. So if we have multiple threads, what we would do right now is we would roll on the threads list to see which thread this is going to move us away from. But right now, we only have one thread on the threads list. That one thread is find the bandits. So we know that this random event is going to move us away from our task of finding the bandits. So now that we know what the event focus is, it's going to move us away from our objective of finding the bandits. The next thing we have to identify is the event meaning. So Mythic offers a series of different meaning tables that we can roll on. And we're going to use the results of those meaning tables to determine what is happening in this event. So there's 3 different Mythic tables for event meaning. The first table is actions. The second table is descriptors. And the third table is elements. We can choose which one makes the most sense to us. In this particular case, because we were looking to take some action and try to bring these bandits to justice, we're going to go ahead and roll on the actions table. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll a D100 twice. The first time we roll is going to generate us one word that we can use to determine what is going to happen here. And then the second time we roll is going to give us a different word. And then we're going to take those 2 words together and we're going to determine what has happened to move us away from the thread. All right, so let's go ahead and roll for the first word. I got a 78, and the word for 78 is repulse. So now let's go ahead and roll for the second word. Second word, I got a 29. Repulse exterior. Repulse exterior. So now we got the event focus, which is move away from the thread. And then we got the event meaning as repulse exterior. So with that, we need to term up with what has happened to move us away from the thread. So this is where a lot of people get tripped up at when they're playing this for the first time. They get stuck on trying to figure out what the meaning is. And the best rule of thumb that I found is just go with whatever the first thing is that comes to your head, into your head. So for me, repulse exterior, based upon the context of what has happened, the adventurer is looking to get a drop on the bandits. Repulse exterior to me seems like the adventurers thought that they were going to get a drop on the bandits, but the bandits is actually going to get a drop on the adventurers. And to me, repulse exterior, the first thing that I can think of is there's some type of trap of some sort. So the adventurers must have triggered a trap, and now they're going to experience the results of that trap. Now, sometimes you might get stuck and you might need more information. That's where you can use a fate chart to see what happens next. So maybe you might come up with a question. Like maybe you might say, did the adventurers trigger a trap? And then you roll on the fate chart, see if you got a yes or no. And if it's not that, then maybe you might ask another question. So that's one way you can do it. Another thing you can do is you can roll again on the meanings table and get 2 more words. And maybe that might help you to be able to come up with context. I would take the 2 words that you got the first time and the 2 words that you got the second time and combine those 4 words to come up with the context. So in this particular case, the adventurers are going to experience a trap. The exterior, I'm going to say it's some type of pit trap. So when they step onto the campgrounds, I'm going to say that the ground gives way and they fall into some type of pit of some sort. So first thing I'm going to do is have the adventurers make a dexterity saving throw to see if they can somehow avoid falling into this pit. So let me go ahead and do that now. First, we're going to roll for Kashta. His dexterity is +0 for the saving throw. And we'll say this is a DC 15. See, it's somewhat difficult. And Kashta got a 9, so Kashta is going to fall into the pit. Next, we're going to roll for Ada. Ada has a +1. She rolls a 9, +1 is 10. Ada is going to fall into the pit. Next is Jodam. Jodam has a +1. Jodam rolls a 7, +1 is 8. Jodam is going to fall into the pit. And then the last one is going to be Merrick. Merrick has a +4. And Merrick rolls a 3. 3 + 4 is 7. So Merrick is going to fall into the pit. So all 4 adventurers are now going to fall in the pit. And I'm going to say this isn't just some regular pit. Well, let's find out. Is this some type of regular pit? Or are they falling into some type of dungeon of some sorts? I'm going to say that it's likely that it's not a regular pit. That they're probably going to fall into some type of dungeon of some sort. So, well, actually, is it a regular pit? I'm going to say that it is unlikely that it's a regular pit. I'm thinking that they're going to fall into some type of dungeon of some sort. So let's go ahead and roll. We're going to roll a D100. So do they fall into a regular pit? All right, we got a 97. So that is an exceptional no. So not only do they not fall into a regular pit, they're falling into some type of serious dungeon that they're now going to have to try to find a way out of. So that's where we're going to leave off here. So they thought they were getting a drop on the bandits. The bandits end up getting a drop on them. And now, instead of hunting down the bandits, they now find themselves in some type of dungeon that they're now going to have to try to figure out how to get out of. So we're going to go ahead and conclude the scene here. First thing we're going to do is look at the chaos factor. Were the adventurers in control here? And I think that is an emphatic no. They were definitely not in control here. So we're going to go ahead and increase the chaos factor from 2 to 3. We're going to update the adventure list. First thing we're going to do is the threads list. So their original thread was to find the bandits, but they now have moved away from that thread. And now they're trapped in this type of dungeon. So now we're going to add a new thread. And the new thread is going to be escape the dungeon. So that's going to be their new thread. They want to find the bandits, but they also got to try to escape this dungeon and figure out a way to get out. Characters, there's no new characters being added. Well, actually that's not true. We have the bandits now that they found the bandits. So we're going to go ahead and add the bandits to the characters list. All right. So we've gone ahead and updated the chaos factor. We've gone ahead and updated the adventure list. And so that concludes this scene. So in our next scene, they're going to find themselves in the dungeon, and we're going to have to see how they're able to get out of it.